In this lesson, we're going to learn about the Hammond. It's an American invention. The Hammond organ, developed in the 30s, became extremely popular by the 1950s, with jazz artists in particular, one notably Wild Bill Davis. While it found a niche in jazz music, it also had quite a penetration into the churches in America. You'll find organs just like this. This is a B3 Hammond. It has many similarities to the pipe organ and to today's digital organs, which are modeled after pipe organs, but then there's a lot of differences. Even if you've been schooled and classically trained in organ, you may still not know how to get around on a Hammond. Well, we're going to overcome that today in this discussion. The Hammond has a tone wheel that generates its sound. And the first thing we're going to learn to do is to start the Hammond. You have two toggle switches up here. One of them is on the left and one is on the right. The first one on the left is the one you push first. It's spring-loaded, so you have to use your thumb or finger to hold it up. And you're going to hold that for about 10 seconds. And while you continue to hold the first lever, the second lever needs to be pushed away from you similarly, but this particular switch, the one on the right, is not spring-loaded. So when you release both of them, this second one will stay away from you, and that means the organ is on. There's also a little light indicator to show that the organ is on. Here we go. First switch, holding it up, counting to 10, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now the second, continue to hold the first one up for a few seconds. Count to 5, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let go. And as you'll see, we have the second switch away from us, the first switch toward us, and we have just started the Hammond. As you'll see, the Hammond B3 and C3 models have a pedal board of 25 pedals. That's a compass of 2 octaves exactly from low C to this high C. Now on pipe organs, you'll have pedals up here, more of them, either 30 or 32 notes. So when you have any pedaling that goes up this high in your score, you need to do something. Usually that means transposing it down an octave to play it in the pedal compass of the Hammond. Now the Hammond also has what looks like an expression shoe, but this is actually a big volume control, and it controls the volume of the pedals and both keyboards all together at the same time. The Hammond's 25-note pedal board is not concave, it's flat, but it is radiating. And you'll find that the dimensions of the pedals and the spacing are slightly more miniature or less open and wide than you'll find on most pipe organ pedal boards. Now, coming up to the manuals, you'll find that we have 2 of them. They don't have names like in a pipe organ, great, swell, choir. We call it upper manual and lower manual. Very generic that way. And we have a compass of 61 notes, a full 5 octaves, just like we do on most pipe organs of electro-pneumatic design, from low C to high C. But we have this lowest octave of reversed keys. These might represent the same style as you'll find in keys of a harpsichord, where keys are reversed, white and black. But there's nothing wrong with these down here. You'll see one of the keys is stuck down on each of these. This is a selector. Consider it like divisional pistons on an organ. If we were to have divisional pistons, we would access different combinations of tone and stops. We have different tone access by whatever we do here. When we depress one of these keys, we end up accessing presets of tone. That some of them are louder, some of them are softer. Let's listen now as I play a C major chord and I go through these settings of these as I continue to hold the chord down, starting with C sharp. It seems that the loudest one is on the A. Now, A sharp and B are special because they are not presets. They will draw whatever tone you have arranged on the drawbars. We're going to learn about the drawbars in a minute. If you press A sharp, you're going to access the tone that's prescribed by the user-defined settings in this set. Now, in B, we have this group here. There's 4 sets of drawbars, by the way, on a Hammond, 4 manuals. And then there's one little set of drawbars for the pedal. Same thing in the bottom keyboard. We start here with a preset. And then A sharp will access what's drawn here, and B, what's drawn here. The low C in these preset keys is a cancel button, so that when that's depressed, you can even sit on it and nothing will happen. The most important part for an organist to learn about the Hammond is how to register with drawbars. Drawbars are equivalent to stops in a pipe organ. We have the designation of pitch, and depending on where we set the drawbars, we get that pitch at a different loudness. So, as we say, this upper manual has selector buttons here, and the B selects this group of drawbars. There's 9 drawbars in a set of Hammond manual drawbars, and we can listen to them. If we see that they're color-coded, we have brown, black, and white drawbars. The white drawbars are your whole octave pitches, 8, 4, 2, and 1. The black drawbars are your common mutations. Remember, we talked about mutations in pipe organ registration in an earlier lesson. And then the brown ones are the less common because they are the 5 1/3 mutation, as well as the 16-foot pitch level. So let's listen to middle C with the 8-foot drawbar. Watch and listen as I pull it out. Did you hear there are 8 gradations of loudness or volume in there? And depending on how far I have it pulled out, the louder it is because I've pulled it out farther. So by pulling it out farther, I've made it stronger. Same thing now with the 4-foot pitch, middle C. 2-foot, 1-foot. Now, if we wanted to arrange them all together, let's go ahead and pull a little of each. And so we have a little bit of a combination there of tone. It's almost as if we have 4 different stops. Now, the mutations don't play what the actual pitch is. They play other pitches. We know this from before. We have 2 2/3, 1 3/5, 1 1/3. By pulling those out and having some of our fundamental octave pitches pulled, we get coloration. Again, no mutations, and now with mutations. Okay? It almost approaches that combination that we have in the cornet of the pipe organ when we have all of these pulled equally. Now, we can get the lower pitches as well, 16-foot. And of course, since 16 is a full multiple of 2 of the 8-foot, we can add it and get what is essentially a 16, 8, 4, 2, and 1-foot combination. Okay, and then if we wanted to get a little color, and so forth. All of these drawbar sets work the same. Again, we could have 2 different combinations set up here in tone mixing, one on A sharp setting, one on the B. And by switching back and forth, it's as if these are our custom tone color combinations as an organist. Otherwise, if you don't use A sharp and B, you're going to be selecting one of the Hammond presets, and they work very well too. Now for the manuals, we have those 4, but for the pedal, we only have 2 drawbars, just a 16-foot and an 8-foot tone. I'm going to play middle C now on the pedal board and pull the 16. Now the 8. Usually you'll have these in about equal increments. I'm going to play 6 and 4 here. 6 for the 16-foot and 4 for the 8-foot. So think of all of these drawbars as stops. Once you get the idea of treating drawbars as individual organ stops and considering all of these as custom combinations, you'll be able to register with great confidence, I think, at the B3 and C3 organs. The Hammond is usually paired with a Leslie speaker. A Leslie speaker has a horn that rotates either fast or slow, and the control is usually found in this little device to the player's left. It can be set 2 places, chorale or tremolo. In the chorale setting, it gives the feeling of a pipe organ. It's not an electronic feeling or a jazz feeling. It's more of a liturgical feeling. And when it's on tremolo, it emulates some of the jazz sounds that you often associate with the Hammond. So now I'm going to go from chorale to tremolo and then back to chorale. And I want you to hear what the Leslie speaker does as it responds. I'm going to play 1 chord with a pedal note. Here we go. There are some organists who make great use of this switch by engaging it fast and slow as they actually play and phrase with their music. Jazz organists will often do this. So that's one thing you need to check when you get to the organ. Make sure you have the chorale setting if you are looking to emulate a traditional pipe organ. The other thing you need to remember is that there are also electronic controls for vibrato. That means in addition to the speaker having a vibrato effect, you also have an electronic effect in vibrato from the organ itself. And these stops or tablets are rocking right up here, and they can turn the vibrato on or off. Now, here's where we have a reference in Hammond technology to swell and grate. Otherwise, you won't really see it. This is the swell according to the Hammond, and listen to the vibrato applied here. It was on and off, and again in the grate. Then we have another control that follows it downstream that gives us the level of vibrato or not vibrato. So for instance, we can go between the 3 settings here. It's a subtle difference, but that is also a control that you can use. And for church work, you usually set it on the least tremolo setting, which is C1. Okay. Also, we have a volume control, which, again, we should always be able to control our volume through the expression pedal. It's like putting a 20 decibel damper on everything when we engage it. Listen to it again. I'm going to play, and I'm going to hit the soft volume control. I'd say that's about a 30 decibel dip, if I were to guess. Another feature of the Hammond that you may find interesting, but you may not want to use for liturgical purposes, is the percussion. Now, the percussion is something that usually you'll see a jazz artist playing with their right hand, and it adds a little sting to the beginning of every note. It only works on the presets that are connected to the keynote B in the selection tabs. Without percussion, you'll hear something like this. And now, it's almost like have a xylophone playing along with you as you play each note. As you hold a note, the percussion decays, so you only get that attack at the beginning. Listen how it decays. Okay. You can override that and just not have it in your combination by just switching it off. Have you noticed yet that the Hammond's keys are rounded on the edges? Not only on the sides, but on the front too. That's for a reason. It's to facilitate jazz stylings and glissandos. And it's not just with one finger, but with the palm as well. You'll never tear your palm up on a Hammond doing a palm glissando. And don't forget to turn off the Hammond when you're through with it. Just as you would with a pipe organ, avoid the risk of electronic or other fire. Turn it off when you leave. It's very simple. You take the toggle that we had left in the up position or the away position, it's on the right. We simply pull it, the light will go off, the Hammond will turn off, and you're all set.